Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut. Because ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand. Hello, and welcome to the show. Today, we're talking about networking and the most effective strategies for female professionals. Networking is one of those terms that is bandied around a lot, and everyone talks about the importance of it and the need for it if you are focused on growing and developing in your career. However, not everybody prioritizes it. Not everybody feels comfortable doing it. So what I wanted to do was talk about the different strategies that are available to you, strategies that I've used, strategies that clients have used. And I want to kind of talk about it from an introvert versus extrovert perspective, because the kind of connotations of what effective networking looks like can often be aligned more with the extrovert approach. So before we go into the different approaches, let me just speak to introvert, extrovert, just because sometimes people think about what that means differently. So when I'm talking about an introvert versus an extrovert, what I'm saying is an introvert is somebody who gets sapped of their energy when they are around people for an extended period of time, which means that they need to have time to recuperate, to recharge. They need time on their own. They need to be able to process. They need to go inward in order for them to recalibrate, right? So it's all about energy. On the flip side, if you're an extrovert, you gain energy from being around other people. So you will almost absorb the energy and thrive off that energy, and then probably find that when you're leaving an event where there's lots of people, you're buzzing, and it will take you a while to come down because you're just now full of energy. And that's me. That's very much me. When I run my group coaching program sessions, after a session, I can't just get off the phone and then just wind down. It takes me a while because I'm pumped after being, even if it's a virtual room, with a group of people. So when we're thinking about introvert, extrovert, it's important for you to really take time to increase your level of self-awareness, like understand yourself and be okay with whichever camp you fall in. You could be an ambivert also, which is somebody who's both an introvert and an extrovert in certain circumstances. So just understanding who you are naturally and how you show up and what types of environments are best for you is the foundation of coming up with your networking strategy. What is not helpful is when people say, this is what you need to do to network. This is the thing that's going to help you to get what it is that you want in your life or in your career. You have to do it this way. That isn't helpful, in my opinion. We're all very different people. We all have very different backgrounds. We all have very different skill sets, preferences, and all of that. So rather than say, I don't like networking because the way that networking has been presented is not in a way that feels good, interesting, attractive to you, let's instead say, how can I approach networking in a way that's aligned to me as a person and the way that feels good? So let's talk about a few different ways from introvert's perspective that networking can feel less daunting and can actually feel enjoyable. So the first is to look for opportunities to meet others on a one-to-one basis. So rather than say, I'm going to go to an event and I'm going to hand out business cards to lots of people, you might say, okay, let me do my research. Let me understand who are the people that I want to get connected with. Who are the people that I'd like to build a relationship with? Make yourself a shortlist and then decide to reach out to people and invite them to have a one-to-one interaction, whether that be a lunch, whether that be a coffee. So if you work within an organization and it's your goal to get more visible where you are and to get noticed where you are and to know more people within the organization, you could decide that maybe once a month I'm going to commit to doing some kind of meeting with somebody within my organization. What that allows you to do is build deeper connections. So we're really going for the quality is better than quantity approach, right? Deeper connections with people, meaningful connections that may lead to referrals, that may lead to sponsorship, that may lead to, you don't know, any opportunities that might come up. So that focused one-to-one and then follow up from there so that you're taking that one-to-one interaction and potentially turning that into a relationship that is built over time. The other thing that you can be doing is really thinking about how can I add value to those around me? If there are people that you know have a particular challenge or there's something that they're working on, you can maintain and build your relationship with people by being helpful. That might look like you sending them an article that you've read that you think would be helpful for them. It might be that you're sharing a skill that you have that you know that they need. If we can really think about networking as building relationships, you will get very, very creative around the ways that you can go about building relationships with people who you're not currently that connected with or you're not as close to. Over time, that can absolutely build. The other thing that can be helpful is looking at joining online communities and forums, whether that is LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. There's different communities out there that you can join so that you can connect with like-minded people who are focused around a particular topic. And from those online communities can come lasting relationships. If you are learning something new, you could perhaps join a community around something that you're learning. If you're joining a program or a course, you can build community that way. I know for me, I have met some of my closest friends, business besties, through online communities because I showed up in those spaces. They showed up in those spaces. We shared our perspective. We talked offline, as in we got on a Zoom call or had a conversation, and then realized that we had a lot of things in common. We had great energy and synergy. And from there, a relationship is formed. And I think for a lot of people, it can feel hard, right, to build relationships as adults or friendships as adults. We're used to our circles and we move in our circles. So to start new relationships can feel a bit awkward sometimes and sometimes challenging. But if you go with an open mind and you are open to allowing the connections that are there to grow, then you will make progress in that area. So looking for ways to have one-to-one interactions with people, making sure that you are thinking about ways to be helpful and thoughtful, and then also leveraging online communities are the three ways that I would suggest for people who are more of an introvert. And then as we move to the extroverts, I think now more than ever, people are very much keen to get in person after going through COVID, after spending so much time not going to events and everything being online and everyone getting Zoom fatigue because all events, whether that is business events, work events, personal events, birthday parties, whatever, were done virtually. Now people are really enjoying getting back in person. So meetups, conferences, those are opportunities for you to go, be in the room, work the room, and make connections with people in real time. As you're doing that, the other thing that can be helpful in terms of building relationships is looking for ways that you can be a connector. So if you're the type of person who knows a lot of people, remembers a lot of people, you can use that to your advantage. If you're trying to build a relationship with someone in particular, being able to say, hey, I know this person, you guys should connect, is a win. And the reason it's a win is because if you connect two people and then those two people go on to build a solid relationship and friendship, they'll always remember you. You are the person that connected them, right? And as a byproduct, you're going to have a relationship with each of those people. So think about how you can be playing that connector role. I think looking at ways that you can maybe create your own things, right? Like there may be things you're passionate about, things that you're interested in. What if you were to interview other people? So I know for me, this podcast has been a fabulous way for me to build relationships with people. There have been so many guests on this show that I would never have had a conversation with had it not been for the podcast. So having your own platform that allows you to invite people that you are interested in getting to know into to have a chat. That doesn't have to be a podcast. That could be maybe a live stream series, or you could have an interview series that you host somewhere. And it doesn't have to be long, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm committing to doing a 200 episode podcast, but you could do a series. So if you are someone who's trying to get visible in your space, you can be strategic about that and say, okay, I'm going to interview other people in my industry, in my sector, in my niche. And as I interview them, I get to know them. And then that's the foundation of a relationship. So thinking about events that you can go to in person, conferences that you can go to in person, ways that you can become a connector between people, and then how you could potentially build your own platform so that you're able to leverage it to connect with people. Those are some effective ideas. Those are some things that I have done myself. Those are some things that clients have done also. And they work. They really work. I was saying to a past client of mine who managed to create her own opportunity really through her network, that her being willing to reach out to somebody and have a conversation and say, hey, I can see what you're doing. I can see how I can help. Let's have a meeting. That meeting then leads to another meeting, then to an opportunity. It starts with taking initiative. It starts with being bold enough to not just accept the status quo. So my encouragement to you is start networking today. And the reason why it's so important and people do talk about it a lot is business, life, careers, it's all people. No man is an island. We weren't designed to do things on our own. We were designed to be in community. And so if you're trying to achieve anything, know that you're going to get there quicker and easier with the help of other people. So don't wait until the moment where you absolutely need help to then start networking. You want to start networking early so that when the time comes that you need help, you're able to make a withdrawal from the bank. If you think of it as you networking and building relationships is you making deposits into the bank. And then when you need to call in a favor or ask someone to help you, you can make a withdrawal. I can't remember where I first heard that analogy, so I can't give the person credit. But yeah, that wasn't my original thought. But I do think it's a good visual to have, right? Like we need to be making deposits before we try and make a withdrawal. So networking is something that we can just be doing little and often. Doesn't have to be a lot. You could be saying, I want to meet with one person a month to either get to know them from scratch or to develop the relationship that I already have. So really think about what you're going to do to set up your networking strategy. What is it going to look like for you and how is it aligned? And those are just some ideas. So if you have other ideas or other things that you have done that have been effective from a networking perspective, come over to our LinkedIn group over on LinkedIn, Career Changemakers with Janine S. Brand, and let's have a conversation. Like share with me what you're doing and share with the rest of the group. It's always good for us to share, and maybe you can make some connections right there on LinkedIn. All right, that is all I have for you today. That's all I want to share. I will be back with you very, very soon. Until next time, look after yourself and keep moving towards your career goals. Bye. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe to the show so that you don't miss any future episodes. Also, I would love to know what your biggest takeaway has been from today's episode. Come over and join us in our Career Changemakers community over on LinkedIn so that you can join the conversation there. Head over to lightbotscoaching.com/community and it will take you right to the group.